Hi, it's Mike Torchia, and welcome to Live Well and Thrive. I have a very special guest, Dr. Carl Rothschild. He has the Trifecta Red Light Bed, which I have been using personally. And I got to tell you something, it's changed my life. I feel fantastic. It's also helped reduce the inflammation in my body. And Dr. Carl, please share this magical piece of equipment that you've created.
You know, I've been involved with light therapy for longer than almost anybody else, 25, 26 years ago, when really very few people were involved with light therapy. I've been a chiropractor for 46 years, but about 20 years into my practice, I learned about light therapy. And I got to tell you, I didn't go in it wholeheartedly. I mean, I was skeptical as anybody else would. Some guy comes to me, he happened to be an orthopedic surgeon out of USC, and he brought this technology to the United States. And he said, well, why don't you shine a light on somebody and it'll make a difference. At that time, you know, of course, I figured I knew everything, 20 years in practice, but I tried it and it absolutely revolutionized my practice. I can't even begin to tell you. And to give you some perspective, the equipment that you're currently familiar with is thousands of times more powerful than what I was using 25 years ago. And we had reasonably good success back then, but now what we learned is that when you bathe the entire body at the same time, that's when you get these remarkable results. So I used to use lasers. We had pads. There's people having things on the wall. We've got all kinds of stuff. And I've used all that. But when we first made the bed for a few years ago, our first bed, we didn't anticipate the kind of results that we were hearing, and then, or that we didn't expect these things. And then people started telling us about all kinds of stuff. You know, I'm limited to what I can say because you can't make too crazy claims, even though it is crazy. I mean, look at if you use it long enough, it will change your life completely. I mean, already in 1 month, I think you've been using it now. And I saw you 3 months ago before you were involved with light therapy, and I told you. And you had told me that one of your very good friends, Frank, was going to need surgery on his shoulder and his back, I think, right?
Yep, shoulder and back. And he canceled it.
And he canceled the surgeries.
Yes.
And ironically, it's an orthopedic surgeon that brought this technology to the United States. But it turns out that the chiropractors really took to it wholeheartedly. In fact, you go to a chiropractor now in Beverly Hills, and they have fallen in love with light therapy because you're not putting anything in the body that doesn't belong in there, and you're not taking anything out that does belong in there. You're not killing anything. You're not hurting anything. All you're doing, the worst that'll happen with anybody is nothing, but the upside is quite spectacular.
Well, you know, after being in the bed, I think it's now 15 or 16 times, every time I'm in there, it feels so wonderful. Like when I used to go in the sunbed, because I feel like the same thing. You could tell what it was doing to my eyeballs, creating cataracts, and my skin would smell like it's burnt, and it just looked like I was damaging my body. I never liked it. That's why I didn't do it for long. But when I was in your bed, I go into this meditative state, and all of a sudden the 12 minutes are over. I just feel incredible. My muscles move more freely. I actually time it so I do an hour and a half deep tissue immediately after the bed. And every time I go now, the girl's been saying, Mike, what are you doing? Your muscles are more pliable. Your spine is moving more freely. And it's because I go into this whole mental state. But I really feel it's doing something to my organs, to my spine, to my tendons, my ligaments, even the tone of my skin. I used to see sometimes used to get kind of dry and scaly. It's not, it's moist.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's credible. No, really, my hat's off to you. The trifecta, I mean, that's all I tell people. This is the bed I've used. This is the gentleman I spoke to. And I was very skeptical, just like he probably was in the beginning. But I got to tell you, I base it on how I feel. And just from a short period of time, it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, listen, I met you 3 months ago, give or take. And I've been doing this for 46 years, looking at people, observing people, helping people. And I could tell that you were struggling a little bit with stiffness, things like that.
I was in pain. I could barely stand
But I
up.
just shook your hands coming in here, and I could tell right away that things are, and it's well-being and health is a lifetime endeavor. And if you're young A lot of people go, well, I can get away with drinking that 6-pack of beer every night. You're thinking you're getting away, but the investment you make when you're younger will take its toll when you're older if you're not making the right investment. And so I tell people, what would your 70 or 80-year-old self tell you at your younger age? But that I wish I had taken better care of myself. Now's the time, at any time, to start doing the smart things that you already know about exercise, about eating right, and get in the bed. I actually have a mug that says, get in the bed. Just get in the bed.
Oh, wow.
And that's my attitude. It's just get in the bed. So if you don't mind, I'd just like to tell you how it works.
Okay, sure. I'd love it.
It sounds like snake oil. I've heard people say that. You're telling me that you can help every tissue, nerve, muscle, bones, ligament, burns, wounds, cuts. And I'm afraid to tell them the truth, which is yes. But why? So what they found out was in the 50 years of doing research on light therapy is that what it comes down to, and I'm talking about just the healing aspects here, it comes down to the mitochondria. Now, when I went to school a long time ago, we learned that there was one mitochondria in every cell. There are some cells, like your muscles, your heart muscle cells, that have as many as over 5,000 mitochondria in each cell. As it turns out, that they have estimated that the average human being, that 10% of their entire weight is made up of the mitochondria. So I just wanted to give you some perspective of how important the mitochondria is, how plentiful it is in a person's body. So what does the mitochondria do? It's the reason why you eat and the reason why you breathe oxygen. It converts those items to energy called ATP, and it gives you the energy to live. Proper mitochondrial function means well-being. Dysfunctional mitochondrial activity means eventually disease and eventually death. So what you want to do is to keep your mitochondria going, right? And the best and smartest way to do that is the things I mentioned: smart eating, smart breathing, and using the red light therapy bed. When you bathe the whole body at the same time, that's important. If you're just doing parts of your body, which is fine. I mean, I've had lasers, I've had all kinds of stuff. We've gone through every classification of lasers that there were, where you would laser an elbow, or you would laser, one little part. That's fine, but we never got the kind of feedback that we're hearing now. So if you could think of any condition, including, and so before I even say that, the reason why it sounds like snake oil is because every cell has mitochondria. So if we're going to affect every cell in your body, that's the makeup of your entire body, then it stands to reason that everything in your body could react positively. So we're talking about people reporting on things about dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis. The way it works on multiple sclerosis is it halts the progression. Now, again, I have to be careful. I'm not making claims about my particular equipment. I'm just saying red light therapy. And by the way, when I talk about red light therapy, we're talking about the combination of red light and near infrared.
Okay.
Not far infrared. So when you hear about people getting in a far infrared sauna or anything to do with when they just say infrared, they're really talking about far infrared, which is a fancy way of having heat. That's not what we're talking about here. This is near infrared. This is the miracle wavelength. And when you talk about red light therapy, you're talking about the combination of red and near infrared together. That integration has proven to be phenomenal.
But this bed is what you created with the blend.
Correct.
Okay, great.
So you want to get in a bed that's bathing you head to toe. You want to get in a bed that has red and near infrared, and the results are nothing short of incredible. So I wanted to talk to you about multiple sclerosis, for example. The way it works, multiple sclerosis is like a cavity in your nervous tissue, and it's eating away that tissue in your body, particularly the brain. And that cavity is not going to be reversed. What we're noticing is that multiple sclerosis can be at least halted in its progression. So when we've spoken to people who have had multiple sclerosis, they get into they use red light therapy, and when they go back to the neurologist, they go, "Wow, we've never seen this before," because it's an aggressively progressive disease, and it is halted. We can stop it from happening. And a lot of the symptoms start fading. So the tremors and, with multiple sclerosis, some of the other symptoms, I was getting into Parkinson's, but with multiple sclerosis, they'll start noticing if they were having back pain, a lot of that will fade and they'll feel much better. But the beauty is that we can halt the progression. Most diseases, what we're hearing about red light is it actually not just halt the progression, but it will actually reverse many of the issues. Depends on how long the person's had the issue, how old the person is, how easy it is to heal the person. But there are 9 different categories of people that we're seeing great results with. The reason why we call it the trifecta is because of the results that we see with face, and that's skin, and you've already recognized that, and fat. They're also noticing that fat loss can actually occur with red light and healing. But the other 6 categories include men's health, women's health. With men's health, we've heard of people who, in a very short period of time, who are suffering from ED. It pretty much gets much better. I'll just leave it like that. With women's health, we're hearing about cysts on an ovary or endometriosis, myriad of other issues that women can talk about. They're doing much better. An example also with women is at the end of a shower, certain age in women's lives, they'll notice more hair in the bottom of the drain. And getting in a bed, I can't use my bed particularly. I'm just saying getting with that therapy will halt the progression of the hair loss, and eventually they start talking about regrowing the hair, getting thicker hair and lush hair.
Stimulate the follicles, huh?
Exactly.
So, for instance, I guess the new thing now that I've been hearing from a lot of medical experts is that dementia is really type 3 diabetes. That's what some people have been saying that. I don't know if it's true or not, their opinion. So if someone has dementia, could it help halt it, in your opinion?
Yeah, we're seeing that all the time.
Oh.
Our first notice of indication of that was we had a doctor whose mother suffered from dementia and Parkinson's. And one time in the bed, getting in the bed was very difficult. Parkinson's are so rigid. But this mother was a problem. She was belligerent. She didn't remember things. She was a danger to herself and others, and they didn't know what the heck to do with her. And after one treatment, they noticed such a difference. And after a month of treatment, her quality of life went sky high. It was amazing, the difference in her life. And she, that doctor has fallen in love with this therapy. And it saved her mother. I mean, you can't stop somebody. Mother was in her late 80s. She's still going to be an old lady, but her quality of life will be so much improved.
Well, I got to tell you something. You'll really appreciate this. So the very first time I went into the bed, laying prone, and it was over, I pushed it. And I went to get up, and I struggled because I had severe compression of my spine. 5 of my spines have fused, and I had the hip replacement where there was a lot of scar tissue. So I kind of had to wiggle out of the bed. Seriously, I struggled. Now I just get up, swing my body around, get out. I lost the stiffness. I lost the restriction because my muscles were not, my hip wasn't rotating. My spine's starting to curl and move. Before it was rigid like that. I actually have broken down the scar tissue that was preventing me from being able to pull my body up. So when I get out of the bed, it reminds me every time, look at the difference from the first time to whatever the 16th time. That's 16 times, 2 minutes. That's why I was saying I'm seeing the change, not just feeling it, seeing it physically, being able to get out of that bed, because you got to remember, you're sweating. So, I just swing my legs out and I sit up. Before, I could never do that. I'd be like struggling, but I'm able to now use my core more freely because my spine isn't so locked up. So again, I said, you've proven me that this is working for me. It's my opinion that I believe in it, and I believe what you're saying because I'm experiencing the change in a very short period of time. How many people see this kind of results? Less than 30 days. It's incredible. There's no drug, there's no other therapy that has ever done a change in my physical and mental well-being that fast.
And there's no potential side effect. In the 50 years that this thing's been studied, there have never been a recorded side effect. So the worst that will happen with anybody is nothing. And I very rarely see that. The other thing is there's really not much contraindication. So even electrical implants, metal, it's a light. If you can walk into the room as we have here, and there are lights here, you can get in the bed. If you don't suffer from that, and of course we don't. If you can get in a room that has lights, you can get in the bed.
Well, I have a titanium steel rod in my hip. I mean, there's no problems.
Some therapies, there's a contraindication there, but with this therapy, there's none.
Wow. I just feel that I've also seen people as they get out when I'm waiting in the waiting room at Dr. Harari's place, the expression on people's faces when they come out of the room. I saw this kind of heavy-set woman, older woman. She was kind of hunched over when she went in. And when she got out, she was standing more erect. And I go, boy, you look like you're just floating on a cloud. She goes, I am. I can't wait to go home and take a nap. I feel fantastic. Just psychologically, not just physically, but psychologically.
No, but it actually helps mental as well. It's not just that, you're going to feel emotionally or mentally better because you feel better. It's beyond that.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of proof also that it penetrates and helps with the brain, and people will feel better about their lives using this light therapy. So, it's not complicated. You know where it comes from? The sun. We're taking elements of sunlight, we're magnifying them many times and driving it into the body. And the reason why the mitochondria are affected by this is because we were put on this planet for whatever reason you believe.
Yeah.
And we're affected by the sun. And those waves of sunlight that we use stimulate the mitochondria to come back to life. And there are actually different molecules that are more affected by sunlight. That's even hundreds of years ago. They instructed people to go sit out in the sun and it'll help them with heal. But it was a very subtle thing. Now we've magnified it thousands and thousands of times and drive it with a lot of power into the person's body. And that's made a big difference.
How many locations are your beds in so far?
Probably, well, I've been manufacturing for 12 years.
Oh, wow.
But the bed that you're using, which is our most advanced bed, is the Pro 450. There's only probably 100 beds in the whole country.
Wow.
And so when you look at the map, there are still many cities that don't have a bed in it. And our goal is to have at least one bed in every city.
So does your website have a map or array?
It has a if you go to trifectalight.com, you can see on there, it says find a location, and one of my staff members will find the closest offices to you.
Great. And then your book?
Yeah. And also, I think it's even on my website. You can see information about my book, and to get it. It's a not-for-profit thing. I didn't write it to make any money, but it's called Illuminated Healing. And I really put some effort into this. But I have to give props to my editor. They took my good writing and made it beautiful. It really reads well.
It does. I read it. It's to the point, answers every single question I could ever come up with, and even things that I didn't even think about. So it's an easy read. It's not a very thick book. It's like a coffee table book, very simple to read, and it explains exactly what this is. And any open-minded person is going to say, hey, it's worth a shot. It's 12 minutes.
I want to tell you another, to do some research for you, some of you people. You go to Google Scholar. Now, some people know about it, some people don't. Google has created a whole separate website, search engine, called Google Scholar. And if you go to Google Scholar, which is scholar.google.com, and then put in the word red light therapy. And I think some of you will be surprised that there are nearly 3.5 million entries that you're going to see. And these are double-blind studies, PubMed studies, articles, all kinds of stuff so you put red light therapy and then space, and you put, for example, lupus or whatever issue you have. And you'll see typically hundreds, if not thousands of different articles, double-blind studies, all kinds of stuff that will talk to you about how it could help these different things. And so when our patients get into the bed, we tell them it comes with goggles, but we tell them, you know what? Don't wear the goggles. And the reason is because the goggles are going to block the light into the eye. Now, you don't have to keep your eyes open. Even if you did blink it open for a second, it's not going to hurt anything. It's not radiation. But it's strong. You notice how strong that light is.
Powerful.
Do you keep your eyes?
But I actually, at one point, opened up my eyes. It didn't bother my eyes whatsoever.
But you have to acclimate to that.
Yeah, at first I was like, wow. But then I was able to look at it with no. Then I closed it and I was like, wow, I don't see a difference.
But the light can get through your eyelid. If it can get through your brain and your skull to get to the brain, it can get through the eyelid. And everything you can think of in the eye, there's reports of great success. Again, I can't make claims, but let me give you specifically, but I can in general tell you that red light therapy has been shown to help macular degeneration, macular edema, uveitis, glaucoma, cataracts, floaters in the eye, and in some cases, even eye vision.
Well, you're going to find this funny, but I just went yesterday to my eye doctor, and I went 3 years ago. And when I did, he said, some point in your life in the near future, you're going to have your cataracts because you're starting to form cataracts in both eyes. I went in there and we did the test. He dilated everything. He goes, wait a minute. And then he scrolled down. He goes, you have no signs of cataracts. So I just smiled. I said, maybe they just be. I didn't want to get into it with him.
That's the one you want to tell.
No, but I didn't want to get into it.
Hey, buddy, you need red light therapy.
But because I wanted to talk to you about it because he said there is no sign of any. And he said you had about, I think he said it was like 40%. And he said if it's over this percent, you have to have the procedure. He said, I don't see anything. And he was like, kept looking, scrolling down my past. And he said, no, I've seen it before, 6 years ago, whatever. And now it's not there. But I was in a hurry. I rushed out. But I wanted to talk to you first before I say anything to him. But I will call him up today and tell him because he was shocked. He was like, I don't understand.
I don't know if they'd be interested. For me.
I mean, think about it. You have all these chiropractors. Imagine you start getting all these eye docs. He was blown away.
Well, we don't want to upset the eye doctors. So, that's there's a little dance I have to do here because people don't want to feel like that we're telling people don't go to the eye doctor. Of course, go to the eye doctor. Or, also when they get in the bed, we tell people to keep their eyes closed and mouth open.
Oh, mouth open,
Gums,
really?
tongue, throat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you want to get all that wonderful, glorious healing energy.
I got to remember that.
Into your mouth.
Now, is there any kind of breathing I should do?
Well, breathing's a good thing. I like you to keep breathing. But
yeah, no, of course that. No, but you know how they
you're at Harhari Khalsa's facility. He's a Sikh, and their breathing is a critical part of their. If you've heard of Kundalini, I practiced under the Sikhs. I'm not a Sikh, but I find an affinity with that group, the community. And I used to do Kundalini yoga. And that's what it's a lot about breathing. So ask Hari, he's an expert.
No, I remember he was like, and then twice with the nose and then out with the mouth. And I was like, wow. So when I've been in the bed, I was kind of doing that. And I just feel like I'm just absorbing more of it when I'm breathing like that. So I constantly make sure I'm breathing freely and long and taking it all in. But yeah, I want to say thank you so much. And thank you for being a guest today. You really have opened up my eyes in many ways. And you've changed my health and my life from just introduced me to this red light therapy. So thank you.
My absolute pleasure. You know that.
And I definitely have to have you come back on because I'm sure I'm going to be raving about other things that are happening to me.
Yeah. 3 months from now.
All right.
You're telling us.
Definitely come back in 3 months.
All right. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So it's Mike Torchia signing off. Thank you for tuning in to Live Well and Thrive. And please subscribe. We need your support.